Hi, Jesse here with etrailer. Today we'll be taking a look and I'll be showing you how to install the CURT Universal Wiring Kit on this 2021 Honda Clarity. The main reason you would add a wiring kit to a car like this would be to send signals to other drivers to let them know when you're turning or stopping, whether it be with a light-duty trailer or in the case of our neighbor here, he's planning on installing a bike rack that actually has lights built into it. So in order to do that, he needs a 4-pole wiring to plug into the bike rack. You may see that we have ours just coming out of the trunk, hanging here. There are options to install brackets, but our customer is not planning on using the wiring at all times, so it's easy enough to just unhook it here and leave it stored in the trunk. As you see here, it's just your standard 4-pole. It's got this dust cap on it. I like to keep it hooked on the safety cable loops like that. But again, it's just your standard 4-pole. This will plug into any 4-pole on a trailer or accessory. As far as the install goes, with a universal kit like this, it can be a little tricky. You do have to splice your factory taillight wiring and connect some wires into that. Then run a power line to the battery in the front of the vehicle. So if this is not something that you're willing to tackle yourself, feel free to check out our dealer locator. If this is something that you want to go ahead and do yourself, then hopefully I can show you some tips and tricks, and I'll show you how we set up ours today. The first step of our installation will be to gain access to the tail light wiring. So we'll just need to pop these little clips out and then peel this back. I just have a trim panel tool. You could also use a flathead screwdriver. Peel that back. We may have to also remove this. Once those clips are removed, we will need to remove this scuff panel here. So first, I'll lift this panel up, get it out of my way. Then you'll have to pop this center piece out. Set that aside. And then this will just lift up. It's clipped in, so you'll have to use some force, but just pull it straight up and set that aside. Here's our wiring that we're working with right here. Just push that clip in, pull it out. So we'll strip back some of this loom here, and then the instruction manual does have a chart for which wires do what, but it's always safer to test the wires, so I will go ahead and test that by running the blinker and the tail lights, and then once I complete that, we'll start splicing. So I've tested the wires. Looks like our red wire will be our stop and tail light signal. This white with a blue stripe, that's our left turn. So this red wire, I'll cut it and splice it into the brown wire coming out of our converter box. The white and blue, that will go into our yellow wire. The kit will come with these connectors included. You can use these, they work just fine. You just slide the wires in and then use some channel locks to squeeze down. I prefer this butt connector. This is a heat shrink style. You will not have to worry about any kind of moisture getting inside this. I feel like it's a better, more secure connection. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'll take this red wire, just cut it to where I have a good amount of length on both sides. Strip the end. So we have our wires stripped back. Here on the end where the plug is, that's where we'll twist our two wires together. Slide our butt connector on. And crimp that. Give it a tug, just make sure nothing's loose. On this end, this is a very thin wire, so I will have to double it over. Slide it into my connector. Crimp down, and then we'll use that same technique to make all of our other connections. As you can see, I have the yellow spliced into the white and blue, the brown spliced with red, and then I went ahead and mounted our box. It's got a sticky, double-sided sticky tape on the back. Just peel the backing off and find a good flat surface to mount it. And then our green wire, I ran inside this rail here, over to this side. On this plug, there is a white wire with a stripe on it. And once I ran that, we had to run our power wire. Really, you just need to find a nice hole for your black wire. That's your power wire. And I found a grommet right there. Poked a hole through it, pushed my wire through, and then we'll run that up to the front of the battery. So that grommet we ran through is up there. I pulled the wire down, went up above the frame, up here, then it kind of disappears there for a while. It comes across. I just tried to stay on top of the skid plates and away from any hotter moving parts. The wire comes up through this skid plate, up above this exhaust, above this heat shield, comes out under the skid plate, and then I pulled it up to the engine bay there. In our kit we have this looped fuse, so we're just going to cut it about halfway, should be fine. Then we'll connect this ring terminal, crimp this butt connector on, then we'll connect it to that wire that we ran up. On our positive terminal here, this is a 12mm nut I'll remove. Take your ring terminal, slide it in there, reinstall the nut, and then we have one more thing to do in the trunk before we install our fuse. Now we need to connect our ground. Hold my wires there. Back in the engine bay, we're ready to install our fuse. Just push it in, put your cover on, and now we're ready to test. So we have our tester hooked up. You can buy one of those on etrailer, or you could hook up your trailer and test that way. I'm just going to run through all the lights. We have our running lights, left turn, right turn, and brakes. And that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the CURT Universal Wiring Kit on our 2021 Honda Clarity.